Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are joined by Renee. So excited to have her here. She's the owner of her own company, Yoni Palace. She's a Yoni practitioner based out of Sacramento, California, and helping so many women out there with their wellness. And we're going to talk today about vaginal womb care and all the benefits that she can offer you, and of course, the services as well. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, please introduce yourself to everyone to start.
So I am Ashley, also known as Renee. I am the owner of the Yoni Palace, which is located here in Sacramento, California. Um, I'm a I'm a mother of four, so taking care
How,
of the
wait, four?
womb.
Okay, that's critical. I have 6 and 8, two boys, but four, God bless. How old are they?
Oh, you ready for this? So
I'm ready.
my oldest is 20.
Okay.
My second is 4.
Uh-huh.
My third is 2, and then my last just turned 1. Yeah, I'll
You
let that
have
sink in
time.
for a
You have
second.
time to own a business and help other women and be here today. Thank you. Oh, congrats. Amazing. Wow. So someone really knows about womb and vaginal care. It's you.
For sure, for sure, for
Oh,
sure.
oh my goodness. Well, congrats on having such a beautiful, amazing family.
Thank
Before we
you.
get started with all the services that you offer, I would love to find out more about you. Obviously, I know you have amazing 4 children, but let's talk a little about where you grew up and what brought you here today. How did it tell us about your journey? Because everybody does have a story.
Oh, so I grew up in Sacramento, California. If you would have asked me what would I be doing, would I be doing this when I was a kid? I'd have
Mm-hmm.
been like, you, no, you sound crazy. I went to school in Elk Grove, started at Harriet Eddy, came into high school at Laguna Creek, and I graduated class 2003. At that same
Mm-hmm.
time, I had my son, my oldest son, who's 20. So
Yeah.
being a teen mom was difficult. I transitioned into being a professional hip hop dancer. So I have danced all over the world, and that was my main focus at
Wow.
the time, was being a dancer and a choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
And then life changed gears a little bit.
I get it. I get it. I hear ya. It
It
happens.
changed gears. My oldest son and I grew up on a tour bus, and I said, I just don't think that that's really the life for a little one. So I came
Mm-hmm.
home and I went into the banking industry actually. Started as a banker, worked my way to a teller to become a service manager, and I loved it. I learned a lot about the financial side, but then
Mm-hmm.
I was still missing out on my oldest son's special parts of life. Sports, I was watching sports from my phone, seeing him doing his first home run, and I was just like, this cannot be it. This just can't be it. So I left the baking industry to figure out what my niche was going to be. And I knew it was to be able to teach, because I teach dance, but
Mm-hmm.
it was still something else summoning me like, this is not it. And I had no
Mm-hmm.
idea what that was. So I was like, okay, let's go into healthcare. Went into healthcare, worked with insurance. And as you know, healthcare can be a lot for people to digest. Some people don't always get what they need. So being able to see that side of understanding that people needed help, right? And then hearing about women's
Mm-hmm.
journey was like, okay. Then I experienced something pretty
Mm-hmm.
terrifying for myself within my own womb.
Uh,
I was diagnosed with PCOS, and I was told that I was never going to have children again.
uh,
I wasn't married at the time, and I wasn't trying to have children. But I don't know if you're like this. I'm the type of person. At least give me the choice. Like,
yeah.
don't take that away.
Yeah, girl.
Um,
Of course.
and so hearing that, I kind of sprawled into like a depression. And so I needed to find something that was going to help heal my soul. And that's where I started finding out about Yoni steaming. So I did it as a practice for myself, a part of self-care
Mm-hmm.
and soul care. And I did this with a group of 2 ladies, very sweet practitioners, very intimate setting. And on about my third visit, I said, okay, I want to be a part of this. This is what I was summoned to do, because there's not enough women who know about being able to heal holistically,
Yeah.
let alone knowing that we have to heal our vagina and our womb. It's things that we shouldn't talk about, right? Or you only talk about
Mm-hmm.
with your OBGYN.
Mm-hmm.
And something said, spirit said, okay, Ashley, not just these 2 set of ladies can help. You have to join the team. And that was it. So I immediately got certified and said, let
Uh-huh.
me be able to create a sacred space for women to come in,
Oh,
let their hair down, take their
beautiful.
mask off, and let's talk about the vagina and womb, which we don't really talk about, right?
No, it's like, see, I'm an open book and I speak to my children. They know everything and they're 6 and 8. And I tell them, and
Mhm.
this is my vagina and this is the penis. And I'm very open about things. But it's sad that I think, especially growing up, at least when I did, and maybe you did, it was like not to be talked about. And it's an
Yes.
embarrassing topic. And it's like, why? It's part of us. Hey, don't laugh at me, but I'm honest. And I got my 6 year old. I said, Mom has her period. Go get me a tampon. He gets the tampon. He opens it up. He gives it to me. I'm like, thank you. Like, I want them to know everything about life, female and male. I just believe in that. And it's going to help him in the future with his wife.
With his wife, absolutely. Instead of like, what do you want me to go to the store and get? What am I looking
Tampon,
for?
not a big deal. Got it. Yeah, yes. It's
You
important to
know,
educate our children too. Yes. And unfortunately we don't. So,
no,
but
and
yeah.
education is freedom, right? They say knowledge is
Yes.
power. And
Mm-hmm.
of course we educate to the age group, right?
Yep.
But the also the truth is there's a lot of young girls who are starting their menstrual at 6, 7, 8 years old. So if we're not
Mm-hmm.
talking about it and showing them that they don't have to feel ashamed about it as we experienced,
Yeah.
then we're doing them a disservice. And then
Mm-hmm.
as women, not only have we felt shame to be women, right? And
Yeah.
then to talk about what we go through, but we also, amongst other women, when we talk about our monthly cycle, it's like a daunting subject, right? Like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I hate it. It's horrible, which it really doesn't have to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it should really be as a rites of passage as
Yep.
when a young lady starts that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Yoni Palace is about, to be able to take away that shame and show women of all ages who started their cycle that this is a beautiful part of life.
Yeah.
This is what we go through. This is how you should keep it clean. And let's just talk about self cleaning, because most people don't even know how to clean her, right? Or
True.
wash it. Who taught you how
True.
to wash down there?
My mom with a washcloth, like that was
Yeah.
it. With
And
soap,
and
but like ow, Bernie sometimes, like not right, comfortable. And yeah, no one taught me. Now years go by later. Now there's these vaginal products on the market, but are they really good? Are they not? How are you supposed to? Were you supposed to rub it? Were
right,
you supposed to not? Like with a washcloth that was
right.
hard? No, and I don't even know. You got to tell me.
And
I'm
some people are like, well,
45. Teach me.
some people are like, I never know. I was just taught to go, white front to back. And I'm like, yeah, most of us were, and there's no judgment. And then there's some that are like, hey, I know. But we have to learn how to clean her. We have to know that it's okay to
Mm-hmm.
clean the inside of our lips and the
Yep.
outside, and to clean our clitoris, and nothing to put up the vagina, right? Because nothing really has to go up there other than children coming out and a penis going in.
Exactly. I
That's
love
about it.
you. You're my new best friend. I love we're open and honest, and that's what it's all about. God bless you. Go ahead, continue, girl.
So, my goal is to not only help women but also young women, so we can start to celebrate what our cycle looks like. We also have,
Mm-hmm.
there are some of us that are on birth control, and there's no judgment here. But when the body is not able to release as a woman, we see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different things transpire, right?
Yep.
Weight gain, acne, or when you come off of the birth control, not being able to conceive. A lot of women deal with
Mm-hmm.
that because the body's having a hard time recalibrating. So when we partake in the practice of yoni steaming, it's allowing our vagina and our womb to, first of all, give thanks to just being a woman, right? It
Yeah.
helps us connect back to our root chakra, which is
Mm-hmm.
down here in our hips and in between there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it allows it to clean out. So let's just kind of start. Let's rewind about what yoni steaming is. Okay.
Sure.
So yoni steaming is a holistic way to be able to clean out the vagina and the womb. What a
Mm-hmm.
woman would do, and this is ancient. I'm not doing anything new under the sun. Okay. I'm just bringing it back to a world that where we're a little disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So our ancestors would partake in this as a self ritual and as a rites of passage when you've come into your cycle. And what you would do is sit over a pot of herbs and allow the steam to go up the canal while you are draped with a gown, either a full body gown or from the waist down.
Mm-hmm.
Some practice it just in a pot on the floor,
Yep.
wide open.
Yep.
Some have what you see now as a little yoni chair that you can purchase on Amazon, and the herbs still go down there. But essentially, the heat is hitting the vaginal canal, allowing it to relax and shed the lining within the vagina, and then anything that's stuck in the womb physically and
Mm-hmm.
spiritually helping that release. Okay. So as women, ideally, we would do this practice twice a month, once before our period and once after. Most of us that haven't heard of this, most of us were taught to dish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before and after, disher. Well, again, as we just mentioned, nothing has to go up there because it is self-cleaning.
Yeah.
But the herbs itself will help clean her out, keep her smelling good, and take away anything. And what I mean by anything, let's say that we're dealing with an ailment, BV, yeast infection,
Oh,
or
yeah.
cysts.
Mm-hmm.
Yoni steaming can help correct that. Now, it can't be done in just one setting, right? But it would
Mm-hmm.
be a continuous practice. In addition to those physical things, now we're also talking about being rooted as a
Yeah.
woman, being able to disconnect from the world, come into our sacred space, and just allow that full mind, body, soul cleaning. And how many of us are really doing that in this day and age?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We do our best to take 5-10 minutes here, and no judgment myself, but really teaching ourselves to, okay, I'm going to take at least twice a month to say, hey, I need to release everything,
Mm-hmm.
not just from my mind, but for my womb. Because when we're talking about the womb is like a vacuum, right? It's sucking
Yeah.
up everything.
Mm-hmm. So true.
So being able to release that and knowing how when we're feeling stagnant or stressed or high emotion, where that shows up in our body, not only in our shoulders or our arms, but in our womb, translating into bad PMS,
Mm-hmm.
cramps, endometriosis. Those are Western names, right, for a disease in our body. And that's our body going, hey, 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 down in the womb, I need you to do some work down here. I need you to give birth.
Mm-hmm.
And as women, we just hear, oh, giving birth to a child, but we're not all, just because you don't have a child or you're not pregnant doesn't mean that you're not giving birth. Does that make sense? You speak
Yeah.
life into your children or coworkers every day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Your womb is sucking up the energy that is around you every day. So if you're not being mindful of that and releasing the energy that comes into it, then the disease is going to show up in the body. I see your mind working. What you got for me?
Well, because I always, well, the truth is when, okay, right now I'm not in a relationship, but when I'm sexually active,
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of yeast infections and I get
Okay.
so discouraged from having sex because I feel like I'm always going to be uncomfortable and it's painful then when you get the yeast infection and then it's like what's wrong with my body? Oh, so I have to go buy Monistat and go clear it out every time after sex. It's not enjoyable. It's not fun. So I'm just curious what type of, Yoni steams you have for people who suffer with chronic yeast infections.
Really good question. So there are site-specific herbs that you could sit on to be able to calm that. Lavender would be one, calendula
Okay.
would be one. Um, and the more you exercise the practice of yoni steaming, the more it will subside you having yeast infections from after a partner, right? And just because we're changing partners doesn't mean that that always means that there's something wrong with your body. It could
Yeah.
be from the partner.
Yeah.
And let's just be real. We see them take a shower, or maybe they didn't, or they didn't wash their hands. That all takes into play, right? With pleasure. So we have to make sure not only do we wash ourselves before and after, but we have to ask that of our partner. What kind of soap is he using?
Mm-hmm.
Because that could be aggravating. When he's out of the shower, is he lubing up with, like with
Yeah.
oil,
Oil or
or if we're
lotion
using
or
lube before, what is, because that's the body going, hey, hey, I don't like that down there. So it's not always the woman, it can be the man.
mm-hmm.
And if we've done those deductive reasons in reference to our partner, then also what we have to look at, Jill, is also our diet,
Yeah.
right? Because as we know, diet could cause really bad yeast infection. What kind of underwear are we wearing? Are we
Right.
wearing silk underwear or cotton? Right?
What
At
what
night,
should
our
what should I be wearing?
cotton,
Yes. I
because
got
it lets it
yeah.
breathe.
All right, good.
Yeah, but the best pair is no underwear.
Oh, good, good. Air it all out. I love it.
Air it
Yeah.
all out. And if for some people they're like, oh my gosh, I could not go without underwear. That's cool. But if you have to, get you some cotton so that way she can breathe. And then at night or when you're around at home, take those things off.
Yeah, no, at night I don't. Yeah. All right, good.
Yeah. You'd be amazed how some people are like, I sleep with underwear on. It's like, no judgment, baby, but let that thing go. Just
Exactly.
let her breathe. She'll say thank you.
She will. You are amazing. By the way, we're halfway through. I just need to remind our listeners and viewers who we're talking to. So tell us how we can contact you. Would you mind sharing website, phone number, all anything you want to share, and then we'll get back to our conversation.
Great. So I can be contacted through Instagram at the Yoni Palace LLC. You can reach the website, which is the dash yonipalace.com. The telephone number is area code 916-306-5020. However you choose to reach me, reach out to me. I talk back, and it's me that you'll be talking to.
Awesome. Love hearing that. Awesome. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Bring it on.
Yeah, so um I you know I've heard women like, oh my gosh, my yeast infection, and they go back to the monostat. As you could see on Google, yes, you can use yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. But if you choose to go with the holistic practice of yoni steaming, you would be steaming quite frequently, right? Depending on the
Mm-hmm.
severity of the yeast infection. Same
Okay.
thing with bacterial vaginosis. They're different, but under the same umbrella, right? Again, we're talking about an overgrowth of bacteria that needs to be recalibrated so we can have our good bacteria take over. If we know it's not me, and you're like, hey, this is just constantly happening, and this is what my diet looks like, then again, we need to look at the partner. But those are always the three things that when you come to see me and you're saying, hey, I'm dealing with something, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
ask you, okay, tell me about your underwear. Tell me about how clean you are when you're touching yourself. How often do you change your towel? How often do you clean her down there? um and then we're going to talk about your diet, because what I don't want listeners to think is that, oh my gosh, I could just go yoni steaming and eat whatever. No, eating what you eat also
Ah.
plays into your womb and vaginal care, how she smells, how she feels, how wet she will be. Drinking,
Mm-hmm.
how often do you drink? Because drinking is
Hydrate.
as good as drinking alcohol is, it also drives us out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you replenishing yourself with water? Do we drink coconut water? Do we drink cucumber water? Because those things are really, really replenishing to our body and to our womb.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
Yes, hydrate, keep her wet. So let's talk about something real quick. There are
Sure.
also some women who deal with vaginal dryness.
Yep.
Okay. Makes it uncomfortable even after you've had babies, one or two babies. Sometimes it's just not the same. Or as we get older, right, and our hormones just start to change, we notice a little bit of difference down there.
Mm-hmm.
So for my what I like to call my well-seasoned clients, coming into steam will help bring back that wetness or increase it, and in addition to increase your libido. So if you're finding that you're a stressed mom and just different things going on, or you're in your way through premenopause or
Yeah.
menopause stage, steaming will help bring that back. And I've had clients feel like, oh my gosh, no, nothing will work. I don't even feel pleasure in a G spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come steam before you maybe go get the G shot. Come
Got
steam
it.
because
Because go ahead.
go ahead.
Less invasive, first of all. I just can't even think about getting a shot down there. Ah. But number
I don't
one,
even like when they put what are we doing when you get your
oh, the
checkup?
gynecologist when they put the
Yes.
metal in, it's like,
Yeah, and they're like, it's
ah,
okay, just breathe. I'm like, oh my gosh,
that
get this out of
cold.
here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes, I don't want a
Whereas
shot.
you could
So
come sit on a warm pot of herbs
and
and
great. Well, I want to know about how it's done. I mean, how do you all do it at your place and how, give us the examples and how long does it take? I want to hear the whole rundown of how we do get a yoni steam and how you evaluate someone because there's obviously specific herbs for each type of ailment, right?
yes. So when you first come into the palace, and let's say I don't know anything about you. I do an intake form. And so when you come in, there's a 3-page intake form which allows me to get a brief caption of who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what you're experiencing. And we talk about on that intake form, are you experiencing any symptoms? Are you bleeding? Because if someone is bleeding, unfortunately, we cannot steam you at that time.
Okay.
It's not good for you, and then just a hygiene thing for being inside of the spa, right?
Okay.
Getting that everything, but if all of that is a no, now we're going to talk about your emotional trauma. Have you
Mm-hmm.
experienced emotional trauma, physical trauma? And trauma can even be, it doesn't have to just be a rape or anything like that.
Okay.
Giving birth is traumatic.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just all peaches and cream, or you've been emotionally abused. We need to talk about that, and where does it show up for you in the body? Um, And how do you hold on to that?
Oh.
Do you relive that trauma every day, and do you blame yourself? So it does get a little personal in that sense, so that we can acknowledge those things
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, right? And then figure out how we can release that. Once we go through that evaluation, then we talk about a little bit of what you are to expect. Because most women are like, I don't know, what are you getting ready to touch me down there? Like, what are we doing? I'm not touching you at all.
Mm-hmm.
um, and when you come in, when you get a yoni steam anywhere, let's be clear, it is not meant to be uncomfortable. Okay, it is not something where you're like, oh my gosh, I am just severely uncomfortable, and then burn her up. We're not there to burn her up. Here to help her relax and
Mm-hmm.
release, in addition to relaxing our whole body. So we transition into the steam room, and what you can see behind me, I call them thrones.
Okay.
Okay. This is your throne where you have your gown here, and then you get a bag, and then we have a crown also that sits on your head so that you're reminded here in the palace of your actual royalty.
Mm.
This needs to be, your crown has to be set high.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the week or throughout the months when we're in life, it gets tilted sometimes, right? So when you come back here, we have you sit with the reminder that you are beautiful, you are royal, and let this connect here. I ask that you
Oh.
release whatever you've talked about on the form, and anything in life that you have come in with, we release it into the pot. You're sitting on a pot of herbs that's already pre-blended, right? Because now we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about a person that I don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
So I've created a blend, which is called the Palace Blend, which has ashwagandha, black cohosh, chas tree, uh, unicorn. These are some of the herbs that just speak to natural, not to, yes, it's natural, but just to womb and vaginal health, no matter what you may be experiencing, right?
Got it.
So it would help subside and still relax the womb itself. The process can be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Okay. And this is just 30 minutes to an hour of pure relaxation. When you come into the palace, it is just you only, or whoever you've decided to be in your space. I personally don't work in an uh open setting, meaning like you can just kind of come steam with, and you come in and see a stranger, because I believe what women nowadays really need to remember is that we need to be present, and sometimes that can be hard to do when there's a lot of energy transfer going around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So once you're set onto the pot, I do ask that you leave your phone down. Of course, you could take pictures of yourself because you're getting this beautiful gown, and you want to
Yeah.
be able to document that. So we'll get your pictures, but then we set it down for you to be able to still be mindful.
Mm-hmm.
As you're going through this relaxation, I've had women fall asleep on the pot. I've had women do yoga poses on the pot. I've seen a lot. I've had women in complete tears, and that is natural as you're going through your release
Aw.
process. And I continue to remind you that whatever you're releasing in, because once we release, right, we have to replenish. Then we're going to
Mm-hmm.
replenish with positivity and whatever else that you want to welcome into your life. Toward the last 10 minutes of the process, we also do a journaling prompt where I have you write to yourself, and everybody's prompt looks a little bit different. But this is a actual personal note for you to be able to carry around with you or keep in your car, so that when you are feeling a certain way, that you can revisit and see what you wrote to yourself. And then once that process is over, we go through a cool down period. And this is where we have a little mimosa, and we talk about what your experience was like on the pot, and any other questions or concerns that you may have had. And at that time, after I've went through your intake form, now talking about if there was something that you were concerned about, how we can tackle that. And the next time when you make your appointment, getting you on this particular type of herbs that can speak straight to that.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much. Pleasure getting to know you, having you here. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I can't believe it goes so quick.
Yeah.
Wow. So we do have to wrap up, but exciting to get to know you. And would you mind also one more time telling everyone the best forms of contact for you at the Yoni Palace?
Oh, thank you. So the best forms of contact is you can reach me by telephone number, which is area code 916-306-5020. You can find me on Instagram at the Yoni Palace LLC. I can also be found on Facebook, which is at the Yoni Palace, located in Sacramento, California. And the website is the-yonipalace.com. I look
Perfect.
forward to being able to help and talk
Thank
to
you
every and
so much.
anyone. And if you
Looking
haven't, find you a Yoni practitioner to help clean out that womb.
Perfect. Thank you. Looking forward to our next conversation. Really
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you so much and have a great weekend. To all of our
You
listeners, stay
too.
tuned. More of the show's on the way.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.